This is Chris Best. I'm stepping in for Steve today for Afro Voice Radio. Today we are joined by our guest,
Samuel Williams,
who is an Afro lawyer in the South Australian courts, and we're going to ask him some questions about the legality of marijuana and cannabis possession in South Australia. So thank you for joining us today.
You're welcome.
So is cannabis legal in South Australia?
The answer is no.
Really? So, what does that imply?
Well, cannabis is not legal in South Australia. That's the answer. But if you want more, when people actually possess a little bit of cannabis and they're caught, at the same time the police will take action against them by giving them an expiation notice or a fine. And that means, you pay the fine and you won't have any other penalties. Simple.
Okay. So what is considered a small amount?
A small amount, anything from 100 gram cannabis, and 20 cannabis resin, it's a small amount, but still it's not legal. So that's why I said in the beginning that cannabis is illegal in South Australia. That's the main point.
Okay. Yeah. So what are the offenses associated with being caught with cannabis? So with 100 grams, you get an expiation notice. What are some other things you can expect to come with that?
Well, it depends. If you are caught with a small amount of cannabis, like I said, between 100 gram or maybe 20 gram of cannabis resin, then of course you'll be given an expiration notice, and of course you expect to pay that fine. And if you don't, then of course a warning, a reminder will be sent to you. And if you fail, then of course the police can do something to enforcement notice, so which means to the court or something. But most of the time, if you pay it, that's the end of it.
Okay. So what's the difference between something that's legal and something that's decriminalized?
Well, it's in this situation when it comes to cannabis, it's just been made illegal in South Australia.
So it wasn't illegal before.
What?
It's just been made illegal.
No, it's not just been made illegal. It's always been illegal. Yeah, the Controlled Substances Act, which, of course, I'm not here to talk about law, and I'm not giving legal advice. I'm just having a conversation with you. So, cannabis is just illegal here. That's what it is, and I know it's sometimes hard to but it's straightforward answer. As I said, it's illegal in South Australia. Possession, selling, even giving away, it's illegal in all forms.
And you mentioned a good point there to everybody watching and listening. This is not legal advice. Do not quote this as legal advice. It's inadmissible in court. Do your own research. Hire a lawyer if you have actual questions about a very specific case. Yeah. And moving forward, what is considered possession?
Possession. If you are carrying something with you, you're caught with it. That moment, of course, you're possessing. If you have it in your home and at the time, you're possessing it. So.
And even in your car is considered possession.
Yeah, possession. Yeah. So
I can see that being legally. I was reading about that earlier on one of the briefs that I read before we actually came here. So in your car, on your person, or in your home. Anywhere,
yeah. As long as it's within you at that particular time, you're carrying it. So sometimes the police will stop you, and if they have a reasonable suspicion that you have something, they just do a random check,
So what are some things that could be considered reasonable suspicion to be stopped by police?
Well, that is, it all depends. It's reasonable suspicion. But the point there is reasonable suspicion means they can, check and do a bit of search and see what's going on here. Maybe they have a way of doing it, but the term there is reasonable suspicion. If they can explain it and defend it, it's very subjective depending on the situation.
I feel that can be problematic. I don't like that, but that's none of my business. That's why I'm not studying law. So in terms of, future legislation that's coming up, are there any bills in the works right now that are working towards decriminalization or legalization of cannabis in South Australia?
Well, not to my knowledge, but what I do know, they, for medicine or medicinal purposes, you know, I mean, you can, if your doctor, the practitioner, authorized practitioner, know that you are in a position where you need any medicine that has to do with cannabis, or, you know, they can actually prescribe that, you know, and that's been made legal under the federal legislation around November 2016, and it does affect the other states as well, which affect our own laws. So, but it has to be, first of all, for medicinal purposes, and also it has to be prescribed by a authorized practitioner,
So,
a doctor or something. Yeah.
So if they can prescribe it, then that implies that it's legal
Yeah,
for the
for
government to grow.
medicinal purposes,
Right.
like I said, you know.
So that means like the government grows it. They have like dispensaries and places where they can grow it and distribute it.
Well, I don't know about that, but all I know is if it will depends between, you know, you and your doctor and the conditions that you have in the reason why they want to prescribe that for you. So they are the authorized person to determine that, not me. I don't know.
So would you say that cannabis laws in South Australia are more or less strict than other states? Or are they pretty much the same across the board?
I think they're pretty much the same across the board in most states, you know. Yeah, they're pretty much. It's just with us, I mean, with the possession of small amount, which people do get fines, and that means you're not going to have any criminal record on you or something if you pay the fine and if you don't oppose it. But if you decide to challenge it for some reason and then, of course, you lost, then it's something else, you know. But pretty much the same across the board.
So when does something become a criminal offense, or when does it have an effect on someone's criminal record, and what does that imply?
Well, to have a criminal record, of course, is when you commit a crime and then you're found guilty, and if the commission of that crime warrants you to have a record, then you have a record, you know. So it all depends how you go about to defend the crime, and there are reasons, mitigating factors you can use to appeal a case not to have a record, but it all depends. There's no straight black and white answer to that. It all depends on the situation. It all depends on the person's criminal history. Depends on the crime. It depends on the, you know, even with cannabis, like, you know, the fines are varied depending on the amount of cannabis or what you're doing it. Some people grow it, some people smoke it, some people carry them, sell it. You know, so it all depends. It varies. So that will always depend. But in terms of record, that's what it is. Commit a crime, you have a record.
And how long does that
If you're found guilty.
How long does that criminal record follow somebody?
It will depend. You know, it will depend on the situation, but it goes. Yeah, it's there for some time.
And are there certain situations that a criminal record would make harder? Like if I have a criminal record, is it going to be harder for me to get a job or like rent an apartment somewhere? Does it show up on things like that? Does it have those effects?
It does. Yeah. You have a criminal record, obviously it will be on any police clearance or that sort of thing. And if you're looking for a certain job, let's say you're looking for a job in a health or working with people with disability and all that sort of thing, they're vulnerable people. So depending on the crime, sometimes you are asked to explain because it depends on the situation. You can explain the reason why those records are there, and the decision maker, they think it fits to hire you, they will. But if they don't think then they won't because of the criminal record, because they want to make sure that they got people that are in the right frame of mind or the right people to do the job. So yeah. So criminal records, depends, do have serious consequences down the line, depending on what you're looking for and what sort of job, you're looking for. Yeah.
So if anybody else watching or listening wanted to find more information, where's a good place to get reliable, consistent information about the legal ramifications of dealing with cannabis?
Well, I would say good places to go and see a lawyer, seek legal advice if you have an issue with these things, because like I said, there's no straightforward answer with this, because every situation's very unique, So, and you only understand someone's situation when you know the facts, So that's why get a legal advice is the best, If you don't have funds to support that, you can go through the Legal Services Commission, and they can help. And other community legal centers, they have like Northern Community Legal Centers and Westside Lawyers. They are all community legal centers. So even if you just Google community legal centers, you'll get some direction of where you can get help if you're in a situation.
Is there anything else you'd like to add? Any other information that you want to plug? Anybody you want to shout out?
Well, what I'll just say is, just don't, just be aware that, we're talking about cannabis, just know that it's illegal. And that's the word, illegal, in South Australia.
Do you smoke? I'm just kidding. And,
I guess I have my rights to answer that question.
Yeah, no worries. You're not under oath. I think that's all the questions that I had. And if we have anything else, is there a place where people can reach out to you?
Well, yeah, of course. We are in the community there to support and to help. So if people have trouble with the law and they need help, definitely we're there. I'm from Morgan and Freeman Lawyers. Yeah.
Morgan and Freeman. That's great.
Morgan and Freeman Lawyers. Yeah. So we can help, and we've been helping people. So.
Well, thank you so much for being here and for answering my questions. And again, if you have any other issues, any legal advice that you'd like to seek, Morgan and Freeman Lawyers are your go-to.